Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining in on today's stream. Welcome, Hunter, Corbin, Jackson. I'm Fierce, Mike, Alex, Trading Desk, Vicky, Matthew. Thank you guys so much for joining in on today's stream. The market is back, trending to the upside. We have MJ stocks popping, and then Disney's doing pretty well in pre-market as well. Overall, it looks like we're set to have a pretty good trading day. Disney's getting really close to retesting that resistance right around like $185.67. Thank you so much, Christopher and Jay, for joining. As always, if you guys want us to cover any specific stocks, just let them know, just post them in the live chat. Welcome, Sylvia. But Tom, do you have like any major stocks you're watching for today, or like any plays?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm definitely going to be watching Baba this morning. I don't know what's up with Baba over the past couple days, but today they really gapped up in pre-market with, I think, the bigger move over the past few days, honestly. And this was a great thing to see. And hopefully they can break that high of day at 217.71 because, man, this pre-market move was great. And I know we've been looking at Baba for a while off that 200 support, but I did not expect it to gap up like this today.
Big time. Then welcome Kumar and Bill to the stream. We have Sean saying TSM with the rocket emoji. Yeah, this thing's popping. It's up a good amount already. The market's about to open in like 30 seconds. But what are you thinking with TSM?
I actually really like it, and they have earnings coming up. Hopefully, those go decent for them. That's what scares me the most about holding this play. But I think for today, it looks like a decent little setup, and there is resistance up here around like 127. Let's go check out where we are intraday, right around like 125.68. So we are getting a little close, but I think that we could see a move up, possibly at open.
Cool, cool. And then Tom, did you see AAL this morning? It's up a good amount, and I think that's a really strong sign because these airlines have been struggling a lot lately.
No, I actually didn't, but I'm really glad to see this actually getting some green finally, Mike. This is great to see. I know those airlines have really been struggling, like you said, and it's just been a very bad time. And I wonder if Boeing is kind of going green too. And let's check it out on the 1 minute. Yeah, they have a little bit of green going on, but man, that's awesome to see with AAL. Let's go see like DAL. Yeah, DAL actually reported earnings today. Let's check that out. Looks like they actually lost out on their earnings, but the stock is not moving down by any means. It's just flat. And that's funny because we even see banks having good earnings, but then going down like Bank of America.
Yeah, true that. Look at Disney. Here comes the breakout.
Yeah, there we go. Right above that high of yesterday. We're just now hitting it. Look at that on the 1 minute. That's a pretty solid move up to 185.80. And I'm wondering how high Disney can start to get because on the daily, it's starting to really recover up. It's up above that 100 SMA. I would assume that we retest this resistance possibly around 190.
All right, and then with the next comment, let's see. We have Mitchell asking about Amazon. So I know a lot of these big tech stocks have been doing so well lately. Amazon's still just like lingering around resistance. You can say like right at like 3,700. I'm just neutral on this one. Personally, I don't think it's the risk. Like I don't think it's worth the risk to get in now. I think so much of the move already happened.
Yeah, me too. And Amazon's just keep in mind also, like, I know that this shouldn't affect the company too much, but, Bezos is kind of leaving right now. They might start talking about the split. And I think maybe going into like some split news or something with them will really make them explode. But for right now, it's just, I think that it might just start to, curve off to the downside. And as we start to see that rotation, I think into like those airlines and some of those other stocks that are going up today.
Awesome. And then let's see. We have Matthew saying thoughts on Apple and AFRM. So I know Apple is just exploding. They got upgraded again today. They're just doing so well. Personally, I still don't think it's worth the risk to open new call positions on it because it's already up so much. IV's already popping. It can definitely continue up. I just don't think it's worth the risk to open new positions. But either way, they have a ton of momentum. They're up 2% today, which is huge. And they also have earnings relatively soon. What are you thinking?
Yeah, they're hitting all-time highs right now. This is actually a pretty good move out of Apple, or actually they hit all-time highs earlier this morning, I should say. But they're heading right up to there as I talk. But man, I like the setup intraday. I think it could be good for like a quick like day trade or something. But other than that, yeah, I would not be like holding this or swinging it for like multiple days or anything. Even for people who bought calls on it yesterday, sure, you could have been expecting a breakout to all-time highs, but no one really knew that news was going to come out unless, of course, you like know somebody who works at Apple or something.
True that. And then let's see. And then also AFRM. So what are you thinking with this one?
Affirm Holdings, this one intraday looks like it is coming back up a little bit, but I'll be honest, it's not my favorite setup on the daily. I think that there's a lot better setups out there in the market. This one is just a little bit strange. I will say it has a good support down there at 46.50, and we're not too far away right now from the bottom, but it's just not a stock for me.
All right. And then let's see. We have Mike saying, what is an entry point to get BK in AMC? Well, I'm not a huge fan of AMC, so I wouldn't get AMC. This thing's getting demolished.
Yeah, that's actually really low, below that $40 support. On here, just look on my daily chart here. This is actually starting to look pretty bearish. And I was saying it was bearish whenever it started to fall out of this wedge up here at the top. And whenever you break below technicals like this, it's just not good to see. It's starting to really fall down. And just keep in mind that like whenever it's going through its hype phase and it's really running up, that's great. But the hype does not always last forever. Just like what we saw with GME in the past, they definitely come down, and whenever they start to fall, they fall pretty quickly, kind of like what we're seeing with AMC.
True that. Just looking at a couple different things right now. It looks like the SPY is up around 0.5%, and it's trending to the upside with a lot of momentum. And we actually just broke all-time highs again.
Yeah, I can't believe that actually. We're about to hit 438. I love those all-time highs on the SPY, and it's nice to see it keep breaking out like this, but at some point, I'm just going to have to expect like a market pullback or something is going to have to happen. And, that inflation news yesterday hurt the market in the middle of the day, but definitely did not carry into today. We're definitely seeing the SPY go right back up. And I don't know, maybe BABA and some of these airlines are having a little bit of an influence on like the SPY here, but overall, I really like the movement, and hopefully we can break out above 438 because I think it could be a pretty good move. But honestly, I like the SPY, and Apple's starting to move well today. I wonder how Microsoft's doing. Yeah, I mean they're just kind of flat, but overall, like these stocks rising like Apple are just really pulling up the market, I think.
All right, Qualcomm's breaking out too. Check out the daily on that one. They have a big resistance right at 145, and they're breaking out above that with some good volume.
Yeah, that's actually amazing to see. I love Qualcomm. I love these semiconductor stocks. I think that they can all do pretty well. I like Qualcomm. I like MU. I think that they could both be doing decent. MU starting to break out today after having a big pullback yesterday. But it's nice to see all these semiconductors going up again. I really enjoy seeing that. I wonder how AMD is doing. They're a little bit red, but Qualcomm is a little bit different. And I will say Qualcomm has been looking pretty good off of these double bottoms, like around 124, and then off of this support here around 135.
All right, and then I'm also looking at Penn. I'm really looking to like start averaging into shares or leaps with this one. But I know that we talked about this one a lot over the past week already. But I still think we're just a little bit too early.
Yeah, me too. And I do have a little bit of a support down here around 65, and I think that there's another solid support down there right at 60. So I think that we could definitely bounce off of one of those levels. And like you said, we're just a little early right now. And I think if we just give it like one more week, I think that we'll be at a pretty good area to maybe start entering at least, at least averaging in.
Gotcha. And then how are the China stocks looking? I know Baba had a ton of momentum this morning.
Man, they had a ton of momentum. It looks like that they are coming down right now, but in pre-market, that was a huge gap up. I wonder how DD's looking. I've been really looking at DD actually for the past few days. To me, like ever since DD IPO'd, it just looks like that they could really fill this gap back to the upside. And today we're seeing some downwards movement, but we saw them follow up BABA in pre-market, which was nice to see. But as of right now, they're just kind of falling right back down.
American Airlines is like going to the moon right now. Check it out intraday.
Yeah, they're up 6%, almost 7% now. And man, I'm really happy to see that with the airlines. And I'm wondering if some like type of news came out with them or something, but I'm really glad to see this. And they do have earnings coming up on July 22nd, it looks like. So be a little careful of it. But I think maybe for like the next week, we could see a little bit of a recovery, at least back up to this like 2250 resistance, about a point away.
All right, Tom, then give us some technicals on AMC. This thing is breaking low of day right now. Currently, it's down 5%. The next support I see is 35, but do you see like any other levels or anything to watch out for?
Yeah, 35 is definitely a good level to look out for there. That would be the main level I'm watching, at least for today. If you break 35, obviously going down somewhere around 30 to 31, I think could be another good support. But man, honestly, that $40 support that was broken yesterday and then heading into this morning, that was just a terrible thing to see. And I think that if we don't pass back above $40, we're definitely going to see a move down to 35 and then down to 30. And, it's just going to be like a continual, slow decline to the downside, I think. And it's kind of been consolidating, honestly, up here for quite a while. Like it stayed between, $40 and $65 for like a couple months there. So it's not like it was like falling off or anything, but now we're finally seeing that movement. And we're breaking that $40 support, which to me, that's the biggest level. And we're finally moving below that.
All right, and then we have Bravo saying, "Good morning. I bought VIX yesterday and it's down. Any technicals? Is it good to sell it?" So as a lot of you guys already know, when the market has like a lot of fear, like when the market's tanking, the VIX will rise. So Bravo, do you have like VIX like options, or do you have like VXX options or VXX shares? Because that'll really have a big influence on how the decision is made. But honestly, with the way the market's moving now, it has so much momentum where I wouldn't bet against it. The smart money is also still holding those like $4.5 billion worth of calls that they entered like a month ago. But at the same time, I also wouldn't be like buying calls on it. I'm just like kind of neutral right now. So Bravo, are you holding VXX shares? Because yeah, the VIX is an index. So I don't know, Tom. What do you think? I'm neutral.
Yeah, I'm more neutral on it too. And to be honest, I would say if it's calls, definitely not a good idea right now. We're having Apple break all-time highs. We're having these tech stocks just continue to go up, and not all of them, of course. It looks like some are starting to fall, like maybe like Nvidia, for example. They're starting to get some downwards movement and stuff, which could actually bring the market down. So VXX could, I think, end up doing well, but with them, it's all about timing, and it depends on your expiration and stuff too. But with VXX, their options are, pretty volatile. And I will say it's normally a big timing deal with them because the VXX is so volatile, moves so much that, like, for example, if it breaks 28.50, we might see a move down to 26. And then if the market has one really bad day, we could see it pop way back up to 30 or 32. So there could definitely be some crazy movement with VXX.
So here's the thing. He's actually holding shares of UVXY. So that's a leveraged ETF. So, it can explode, but I'm neutral on the market. But what sucks is because it's a leveraged ETF, you can have the VIX kind of do nothing for like, a couple weeks. And then UVXY will still fall because it decays in a way that's similar to like theta decay with options. So that just adds another element to like that timing portion of it. So I don't know, it's not bad. If you have like other positions to hedge it, I think that would also be good. Then we have Hunter saying, "What's going on with PDD?" Yeah, this thing's getting smacked.
Yeah, PDD. Let's go check it out. That's funny because a lot of those other Chinese stocks were kind of going up. So I don't know what's going on with PDD, but definitely not a good look today. And it's starting to really tank off to the downside.
All right, and then let's see. We have Hunter saying, "Baba is one of the only really green China stocks I see right now." Yeah, I saw Baidu had potential, but as we can see with PDD, that thing's getting smacked. Baidu's now in the red. So definitely good observation there. Then we have Kathy saying, "What's happening with Airbnb?" Tom, what's going on?
Yeah, I was actually typing in the chat just now, but this is not a good look for it today. Definitely fell below that 143 support and just continues to be breaking down. It looks like on the daily chart, not looking good. There is a good support there around $140, but as we start to see like on the 180-day 4-hour chart here, like it's starting to just really break down. And if it falls below like 140 again, we're going to see, I think, maybe a bigger sell-off. So it's definitely getting scary right now.
All right. And then let's see. We have Mike saying, "Damn, all-time high on the SPY. It's exploding, I remember ever since I made that video with the $4.5 billion options trade, the smart money really just, made the market explode, and they were buying those calls basically at the bottom. And, The momentum we're seeing in the market right now is just crazy. When you have stocks like Apple just going parabolic like they are, it's going to be hard to, turn this momentum around.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the main thing is just like we just keep seeing good news come out. And then now the airlines are going up. And it just seems like that. And I think we're even seeing another one. I think we're targets at all-time highs again. Like these stocks, they just keep going up for some reason. And Apple, like everything's getting a little overextended though. So eventually I think we'll see a pullback, but it's just all about timing right now. And you can never pick the top. And, we say that quite a bit. And I think that that's really going to show like on Apple and on some of these other stocks that just keep going up is that, like you just can't time it. And it's really hard to do. So just keep in mind, like I would just wait for like a little bit of a pullback first before you try to like bet against the market or anything.
All right. And then let's see. We have David saying, waiting for a correction on the SPY. Yeah, I think it's good to be patient. I think it's pretty hard to start like buying calls, especially at these levels. So I think that'd be a good idea to, stay patient. Bravo saying, thanks, guys. Of course. Corbin saying, how do you like Boeing for a swing to the upside? Just the momentum isn't there. We're seeing momentum in a lot of different sectors of the market right now, especially with stocks like Apple and a lot of the other tech stocks. In Boeing, it's not bad at all. It's just the money is not flowing there now. So I like it for shares for like the long term or even the next couple months, and maybe even like call debit spreads where like for any type of short term swing, I don't like it just because that's not where the money's flowing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Today we're seeing like money get back into the airlines, like AAL's up like 6%. I think that we might start to see Boeing go back up. I personally think the intraday setup looks decent. It's holding that support down there around like 225.50 and 227. So you might see a swing back up. The good news is that it's at support, but it's definitely had a lot of downwards momentum the past few days. But as of right now, at least over the past few minutes, it has some green.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can continue up. I just feel like we're still early, rotations are a very slow and gradual process. So it's definitely on my radar. I made a couple of videos over the weekend highlighting some stocks that I like. Boeing was one of them. Personally, I just feel like we're a little early, but really, it's just going to be like a waiting game, you could say. If we start to see Boeing really like hold its ground and while tech stocks sell off, if we could see like Boeing get some or like attract some positive momentum, then I think it can definitely be a good play. But either way, it'll definitely be on my radar.
Yeah, and like on an intraday setup, like if you were going to try to like do a quick scalp or something like that, I would just say to target like 232 because I think there might be a lot of resistance right there if we do end up going up today. But then keep in mind, like we might hit 232 and then start to tank off to the downside because I'll be honest, this daily chart on Boeing just does not look very good. Like we've seen times in the past where it's bouncing off support, has good double bottoms and stuff. But right now it's just not looking good on the daily. That big move to the downside yesterday, I think we'll end up breaking that like 226 support.
All right, and then we have Sylvia saying JD is going down too. Yeah, it is getting pulling back a good amount, down around 2.5%. They have like a pretty big support at like 72.50.
Yeah, they do. I actually really like that support. And, like we saw the Chinese stocks doing very well. We're just seeing a little bit of a pullback today, but I think that this $70 support might hold up on the daily chart. And as long as we hold that 72.50, I think that we'll end up popping back up. So hopefully it can end up being a good recovery play, maybe like later this week or next week. But right now, it just seems like ever since open today, these stocks have just hit some selling pressure for some reason. And I'm pretty curious as to why, but hopefully we can start to see some moves back to the upside.
Yeah, look at AMC, Tom. This thing is getting smoked right now. Look at that.
Yeah, man, still down, went all the way down to 36.22. It had a little bit of a pop back up now to 37, but man, definitely not looking good. Really fell below that support. Not a good sign. And, I know this is going to make a lot of people angry, but it's definitely not a good setup right now. And, it was a good setup in the past. Like there was some good movement. The technicals were looking good on it before, but after the past couple weeks, ever since it fell out of this wedge, I mean, it's just been straight down. So for me, it's just it's totally off the radar for me right now.
Yeah, it's not looking good at all. Looks like Netflix is uptrending. They look pretty good right now. Netflix, ORCL, not bad either.
Yeah, definitely. And ORCL is one of those stocks I've actually been looking at for the past like few months. I think that they could do pretty well, but on the max daily, they're just starting to break out to all-time highs and they're starting to look a little overextended. And I'm wondering how high they'll end up going. Maybe they'll like retest like $100 or something.
All right,
Not
and we have
retest, but they'll test it, I should say.
gotcha. And then we have Hunter saying PTON. Yeah, this thing's down around like 5% or so. IV is slowly creeping up. If we see this thing like maybe retest like 108 or 107, I'd consider selling some puts on it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Sorry, I had to update a position, but Peloton not looking good on the daily. I would definitely say it's going down too.
All right, and then we have Jason saying AUY up, KGC up, but now dipping, buying SPCE. Yeah, I know SPCE had a ton of hype last week. How's it looking right now, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually not looking too good. It's not looking today's not as bad, I should say, as like yesterday or a couple days ago, but definitely not looking good. As long as it holds this pre-market low of like 36, it might be decent. But keep in mind they had that $500 million share offering. So that's definitely going to hurt the stock in the short term. And I would say that there's definitely a good support, like right around where we are, around $36. That's definitely the top of a few candles in the past. And I would say that could definitely hold up in the short term, but I would target somewhere more around $30 even.
All right, and then we have Corbin saying, I am still holding Apple puts, but I bought more time. I swear they timed these news releases on purpose. Yeah, sometimes it seems like that. What strikes and expirations are you holding? Because I know it's rallying pretty hard, but it looks like the resistance right at 149 is going to be pretty tough, which
Yeah,
is
it is.
good.
That's going to be really tough to actually break above. And it looks like they're actually having some pretty bad movement so far, like as of the past few minutes, anyways. And it almost looks like they might start breaking back to the downside, which is not a good sign. And it almost reminds me of yesterday's setup, how like they flew up early in the morning and then they just gradually sold off for the rest of the day. It kind of reminds me of that exact setup.
All right, Twitter's not looking bad either. They're up like 2.5%, and they're actually breaking above that resistance at 71, and they're about to retest 71.50.
That actually looks really solid on the daily chart, Mike. They started to pull back pretty big off that 70 resistance, but man, that move now today up above there is really nice to see. And I really like to see this on the daily. It looks really good. I see another resistance up there around like 73, but I think we could maybe hit that today if you want to do like a quick scalp or something like that.
And then check out Starbucks. This thing's still rallying for like what, like the past 10 days?
It's still going up, Mike. I cannot believe that this one's still going up. Yeah, it broke up above 120. That's awesome to see for them. They have earnings coming up soon, and man, they've been a powerhouse. Yeah, just all green days, and definitely a good stock for the past like few days to swing. It doesn't have the biggest moves in the world, but definitely a solid mover, especially early on in the morning. It generally runs up and then starts to go flat, but man, I love to see it run up like this. I would think maybe it hits like 121 and then goes flat for the rest of the day.
All right, and then we have Sylvia saying Disney going down with a sad face. Disney is going down. They were rallying very well this morning. Looks like a failed breakout. I love Disney for the long term, or like even for the next couple months. I think it's an awesome setup, and honestly, this thing can retest like 177, and I'd still like it the same amount. This is like a medium slash long term play for me. Overall, they are getting like a lot of upgrades, and there's a lot of buyers flowing in general. So I still love the setup.
Yeah, for sure. And that new Black Widow movie is doing very well also. And I think that they might come back down and retest like the 180 support or something like that. But I think it looks like still like a very solid setup. And like you said, Mike, it's definitely a longer term one. And the options that we're playing are like they're a year or two out. So there's definitely a lot of time on it.
All right, and then we have Chris saying, when do you think the MJ bill will come out today? Hoping it's good for MJ stock. So, Tom, do you have a specific time on this or no?
No, not as of right now. I'm definitely going to be looking into that though. But I'll definitely see what's going on and maybe we'll see something on Twitter or something, but I'll definitely look into it and see if I can find anything.
All right, sounds good. And then we have Mike saying, what's going on with Palantir and NIO? They were doing so well, and lately it's been on a downtrend. So, Yeah, Palantir has been getting hammered pretty hard. It's down around 1% today, and there's just a lot of sellers coming into it right now. Overall, I love it for the long term still. And when you look like from May, they still in like the grand scheme of things, they had a huge like pop up. They went from like 17 up to like 27 in like a little bit over a month. So they are pulling back still right now. They do have support at 22 and then like 21 even.
Yeah, they do. And it's honestly starting to look pretty bad for Palantir on the daily. It looks like it's going to really start to turn over. It had a little bit of a dead cat bounce right there with a couple of those green candles and then hit that 100 SMA, ended up going down. Definitely not a good sign in the short term. There might be that support though down there around like 2150. I think that could be good. Right around 22, like you said. But it seems like it might break something like that, end up going down even more to me. I don't know why. It just doesn't seem like a good setup on the daily right now. But keep in mind, those supports might hold up, though, in the long run.
All right. And then also NIO. This one's been struggling a lot too. They hit that resistance at 55 and they're struggling big time.
Yeah, with NIO, that's definitely not a good sign right now. They also look like a little bit of a dead cat bounce, like they're turning over. I like them off that support around 40, though. Hopefully, you can hold that somewhere around Palantir, actually. Like it would have a similar amount of movement until it hit their support. So hopefully they can both like hold up. But I will say it's just not looking good. But keep in mind, these stocks were going down quite a bit. Then they recovered up. NIO specifically recovered up a lot and then actually started falling off a little bit now. So, stocks go up and stocks go down, but it's definitely not good to see it starting to turn over like this. But just keep in mind in the past, if we go look at NIO, it was going up and it would start to turn over a little bit, consolidate around that 40 support and then go up. So hopefully we can sit around that $40 area and then move up once again.
All right. And then we have Basil saying CCIV is playing with my emotions. Yeah, I know what you mean. They're down around 4% today. This one's been so volatile lately. Like like what was it? On Monday, it's trending like it's about to break out, and then today it's, tanking right back off.
Yeah, it is. And it might be good to start selling puts on this one soon, especially if we start to see more downwards movement. I have a huge support on them around $20. They're at around 24.78 right now. So there's definitely a lot of movement that could be done until we hit that support. And I think it definitely looks like it could start to go down. And we're seeing NIO down, CCIV down, Tesla's even like, they're definitely not green today. So overall, it's just like all these EV stocks are just pulling back a little bit, and it's just not a good sign right now. And I'm definitely even getting worried about Tesla again. It's just not a good sign in the short term. It just seems like that a lot of these stocks are starting to come back down, and I would kind of expect that to hurt the overall market eventually. But we just keep seeing like Apple and those stocks breaking out, but the SPY looks like it is starting to turn over a little intraday.
All right, so we have, I know that you already brought up like CCIV short puts, but I'm looking at the 22 puts for July 30th. You can get paid around $113 for each put you sell, and I think that looks like a pretty solid deal. CCIV has a relatively high implied volatility, and I think it's a really good setup for selling puts.
Yeah, me too. And it's especially if it just keeps going down, it'll just keep getting better and better of a setup. So unless obviously it starts to go down to like, $10 or something, then it would be terrible. But as long as we can hold these supports around 20, it'll be a really good setup.
All right. And then let's see. So Corbin's holding the 145 puts for Apple for August 20th. It's good to see that you're getting more time. That's an awesome thing, Corbin, and it'll really, really help you out because, if you're messing around with like the weeklies or even options that have like 2 or 3 weeks, it can get pretty scary, and that time decay will eat you alive. But it is good to see you're getting more time. Hopefully this resistance keeps the stock lower for you, and hopefully that position turns around. Then we have Matthew saying that is the Nasdaq still good to hold long. So that's the $1 million question, But my thoughts are we see all these stocks very overextended to the upside, like Apple and a lot of other big names. And eventually they're going to have to pull back. That can be today, it can be in 2 weeks. No one knows. But when those stocks pull back, it'll really affect the NASDAQ and other indices. So My personal stance is that it is not worth the risk to open like new call positions on on a lot of these tech stocks and just like the Nasdaq overall. However, if you've been holding calls or if you've been buying in for like the past couple weeks, I do think it would be smart to at least start to hedge yourself in some way, whether that be like buying a put debit spread or maybe selling a portion of your position just to hedge yourself.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be smart too. And, like you said, it's hard to time it. Like it could definitely, like we might see the QQQ run up to 375 before we have a pullback or run up to 380 or possibly even 400. Nobody knows, but it definitely will start to pull back eventually. And what, like Mike said, a lot of these stocks, especially like Apple, Nvidia, some of those, they're getting really overextended right now. And just keep in mind, whenever they get overextended, like Apple has in the past, sometimes they just keep running, but in the end, they will end up tanking off, kind of like what we saw right after Apple's split. And then also again, whenever Apple hit that 142 resistance, we saw a big move back down to like 117. So if whenever it moves down, it definitely, will have a pretty big pullback. And whenever that happens, it definitely makes the QQQ go down too.
Have you seen MRNA? This thing is still running.
Yeah, this is awesome, actually, Mike. Look at that on the daily. This vaccine news must be getting really good for them. And man, it's just continuing to help mRNA. I thought that they would end up going down a little bit, maybe like at like around this time of the year, maybe like later on this year, they'll end up going down. But man, on that daily, they're just so strong still, breaking out, almost hitting 250, like you said. I mean, definitely a strange area right here. I'm not sure that we'll break out above that or not, but maybe tomorrow. But man, it's definitely a very, very high momentum stock today. Definitely a big runner. And man, it's almost moved like 10 points since open.
All right, and then we have Sylvia saying thoughts on Intel. I believe you have shares at Tom. Tom, any input?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Intel personally. For the long term, I think in the short term, it could obviously go either way right now. There's a big resistance here, right around $58. And, with what's been going on fundamentally with them and, everything, they had to just delay a new chip again. I think we could see them continue to go down, but at the same time, it's holding a lot of these trend lines and it's holding its ground well, which is nice. So if we start to see a breakout, I think above like 59, especially a breakout above $60, we'll really fill this gap back up to like 63, 65 area. So I think that that'll be the big move that we want to see whenever we finally see a move with Intel. But I would definitely wait for it to break out because it's definitely had a little bit of shaky stuff going on. And I think it'll be great in maybe like the next year, next 2 years. But as of right now, there's still a little bit of fundamental stuff that they're working out. And they just got a new CEO and they're trying to really, get the stock going again.
Are you still holding shares with it?
No, I'm not actually. I was holding it back here. I actually played it twice. I got it the first time off of this like 48 level whenever it touched the 1,000 SMA. I ended up selling that one around 54. And then I ended up buying it again down here on this green line at the bottom around $45. And then I ended up selling that one out around 52.
Alrighty, and then I think a good way to play this would just be to watch this upcoming earnings release. Let's say it tanks off. You can just sell some out of the money puts and literally get paid to just snag this stock at a super low price. So I think that's the best way to go. Of course, you can speculate with earnings, but that's a complete gamble. Let's see what else we have moving. How's Tesla looking? Because I know it's been kind of weird lately. We have a lot of stocks and indices exploding to their all-time highs, and Tesla has just been like stuck in the mud.
Yeah, I'll say, it's still moving off of this bright blue line that I've had on my chart for like the past few weeks now. Man, it's bounced off of this line so many times in the past like month. I just can't believe it. And it hit off of it yesterday and then ended up tanking straight to the downside. Not a good sign. Even whenever we go to like the 90-day, 15-minute chart, you can see how it really like hit right off of that, especially on like, there we go. The 5-day, 5 minutes is where it hit, but you can see how it hit right off of that trend line up there at 695, ended up going down even on the daily and not looking good, hit off of it again. So I don't know, I'd love to see it go and break out above that $700 resistance. I'd love to see that with Tesla. I'm honestly just waiting for that to happen. But for right now, I'm just still going to be looking at it to the downside since it just can't break off of this trend. But all that we need is a good earnings on July 26th, and we might be up through 700. So it's definitely going to be a crazy thing to watch, but I'm really waiting for it to break through that level, because once it breaks through that, it'll break through this trend line as well.
Gotcha. All right, then we have Matthew asking about the DAX, the German 30. So looks like it's just been pulling back a little bit over what, like the past month or so, while the S&P and the Nasdaq are exploding. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just looks like it's pulling back to one of your SMAs, Tom.
Yeah, it's actually sitting right on like the 100 right now. And then it looks like they had a little bit of a support down there around like $33 that it bounced off of.
Gotcha, gotcha. Looks like NIO is down a little bit today. We're not seeing any crazy movement either to the upside or the downside, which looks like it's just kind of like a boring day, to be honest with everyone. One stock I do see that is moving, that would be Netflix. If we look at Netflix, they are breaking their high of day right now, and they're retesting that resistance right at 550, or they're getting really close to it.
Yeah, they're actually getting close to that. And I think that we might see a move up and maybe just really touch that level and then consolidate for the rest of the day today, and then possibly break it tomorrow. I don't think that we'll break out of that one today, but I will say that the daily chart on Netflix is looking very solid on the daily. I love how they filled that gap that they had a while ago, and it just looks really solid to me. So I really like the setup on Netflix right now, and hopefully it can break out like maybe tomorrow or possibly later today, but I would guess more of tomorrow.
All right, and then we have Gerard saying thoughts on CRWD. Bought some calls around 260 today's. Let's check it out. CRWD 260. Well, that's awesome. It looks like you got it at a pretty solid level. Which expiration do you have? Let's see.
Yeah, and it looks like a very solid setup, though. That 260 is a pretty good support. I'm glad he bought right there. That's really solid. And intraday, it looks pretty good. I will say on the daily, to me, it looks like CrowdStrike's getting a little overextended, but today, intraday, it looks like we might see another move and maybe retest this 265 resistance up here.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they bought it at a perfect time. That 260 was an awesome support, and I bet they're in a really good position right now. Looks like Bank of America is still selling off after that earnings report. Tom, weren't you saying that like the lower rates hurt them this quarter?
Yeah, they were saying on their earnings that the lower interest rates actually just brought in like a little bit less of revenue than they were expecting, obviously, and they might have been expecting the Fed to raise those rates back up. I know Powell and them, there was a lot of like rumors about it and stuff, but they ended up saying that they're sticking with the easy policy. And even this morning again, I heard Powell said that he said that they're sticking with the easy policy even more. So definitely not a good sign for the banks in the short term, but the banks have been hoarding up a lot of cash. I think that they'll be good for the longer term. And, even though they lost a little bit, their earnings were still great. Like they beat the estimates pretty good, but we're just seeing that downwards movement on just that bad news with those interest rates, really. And then also keep in mind that yesterday, like the bonds didn't do very well for the banks either. So there's just been a little bit of a shaky news going on as far as the financial sector goes. But I will say that overall, it should do pretty well, like in the longer term, but in the short term, I will say the daily charts are starting to look pretty bad.
Gotcha. So I just keep running these scans to find something that's moving, but it really looks like we're just having a boring day. Looking at the SPY, like it's just like lingering around all-time highs. There's no real momentum with anything, to be honest. So if you guys
How are the airlines doing?
Yeah, let's check them out. AAL.
I mean, it's just kind of consolidating again, just going flat kind of at the top here. Who knows? Like it might be able to break this high of day, but it's just kind of, like you said, just kind of getting boring here.
Yep, just a boring day. So if you guys are watching any stocks, let us know. Not too many other stocks are moving right now. BABA's coming down a little bit. Looks like they have support at like 213 and a big resistance at 216. So that might be a potential play, but really there's not too much moving. Let's see. ORCL is trying to move up right now. It's breaking its high of day. I mean, that might be a setup.
Yeah, ORCL, you said Oracle. Let's check it out. ORCL. Yeah, wow, that's actually moving, Mike. This could actually be a decent little move today, I think. There's a resistance coming up. I see around 88.50 that we've hit off of a few times, but I think we might have a pretty good move up to that level if you wanted to do something very, very quickly.
All right. And then if we look at NIO, they're recovering pretty nicely. They're bouncing off that 44 support, which is good. I still think this one's just going to be best for selling puts. We have Vicky saying MGNI fast. Hit the like button. There we go, Vicky. MGNI. Let's check it out. It's up around 2%. It is breaking out intraday. It's not a bad setup. If we look on the daily, yeah, it's not bad at all.
I actually like it on the 1 minute. We actually just popped above the 1,000 SMA on the 1 minute, and on the past over the past 2 days, we actually have hit right off of that level, and that ended up going down. So I think that's a good sign that we saw this breakout up above that. It's also breaking up to that high of like right around market open. I would think if we can move up above 31.75, we'll see a pretty good move out of this stock today. But I would say make it break out above this though, because I think that that's going to be a pretty solid resistance here. So definitely look at it. But if it breaks that, I think we'll see a good one.
All right, and then FAST. This one's pulling back. I'm not as big of a fan as the last one. Looks like they also just reported earnings and they're selling off. So I'm not a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, and the earnings, they just seem to come in very even with their EPS. So it's not like they really like lost or like won on the earnings, but I would say it definitely looks like it's more of an bear setup right now.
All right, and then we have Chris saying, can you talk a little bit about NOK, please? So yeah, we can definitely go over some some technicals. Neither of us have done like a deep dive, complete fundamental research analysis like a lot of people in the Discord have with this one. I know that they have some good things going for them with like 5G and their patents. And they also announced that they will be like raising their guidance for the rest of the year, which is awesome. But Tom, what are you thinking?
Yeah, in the short term here, I'm kind of just looking for some trend lines here to draw. Looks like we might have a little bit of like a wedge setup going on right now. Not the most defined in the world, but there's definitely a humongous resistance at that $60 or that $6 resistance level up there. I think that's going to pose a pretty big level, and I would really watch for it to break out above that. It looks like today we might start to go back up and retest that and try to break out. So really watch it, because on the daily chart, that's even very defined as well. $6 in the past has been a big level. $5 was a huge level as well. And you can see whenever we finally broke out above 5, pretty good. We saw a pretty good move. So hopefully if we can break out above 6 and see, one of those nice moves once again. But I know lots of people have been looking at NOK, and man, I love that $6 resistance. Once we break that, I'm going to be really bullish on it.
Awesome. I know a lot of people in the Discord are holding it, so I'd love to see this thing explode. I know we have a ton of people holding leaps on this thing, so they are at a huge resistance level at $6 right now, and if they break that, the next resistance I see is until like 650 or even 7.
Yeah, I think that could be a good level as well. Like you're right. There's just a lot of room, like in between these breakouts here with this, and I think that's what's really good about Nokia is. It sucks whenever it goes down because it has big gaps at the downside, but whenever you go up, then it has big gaps up. So definitely watch out. It also has those earnings coming up, and who knows, maybe they'll like have some good guidance for like the rest of the year, or they'll announce some new projects, or nobody knows, but hopefully it'll end up being solid.
Awesome. And then we have Hunter saying Peloton mooned off its past daily swing high. Yeah, it's not doing bad. It is recovering pretty well right now. It tested that 114 support. Now it's testing that 117 resistance again, but buyers are coming right back in.
Yeah, they are. They're coming back into Peloton. It's kind of coming back up intraday, and hopefully it can just keep going up. And I see a pretty good like intraday support at 116. So hopefully we can hold here.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff. Let's see what else we have moving. Still not a ton moving. TSM doesn't look bad though.
Yeah, TSM is not bad. Like some of those semiconductors were moving earlier, like Qualcomm. It's always good to see TSM moving too, and they're just now moving above that pre-market high. So hopefully they can keep going, man. I really am just hoping that we can see some good movement out of some stocks. Like you said, it's just a little bit of like a slow day in the market, and like while we're seeing some stocks move, like Apple, it's just everything slowed down now, and it's just kind of getting to that like consolidation time, I think, of the day. And we're seeing TSM just barely break out here. So hopefully we can see more movement.
You know it. And then we have, let's see, We have Carlos saying, guys, this July is looking like last August, where it was new all-time highs after all-time highs, and it ended up with a big correction in September. I see something similar coming up. Opinions. So I agree with you to a certain extent, Carlos. Yeah, in September of last year, we had those splits with Tesla and Apple, and those just really like brought a ton of buying momentum or upwards momentum into the market. And after they split, like it just a lot of stocks pulled back, and I think we're seeing something extremely similar with Nvidia. So I agree with you. Of course, like every correction, every run up is unique, but in like generally, I do agree with you.
Yeah, I think so. I agree as well. Like, I think that we'll definitely see something end up going on, and we're just seeing too many stocks get overextended here. It's just not a good sign, I think, in the shorter term, especially the indices like the SPY, I think, are getting pretty overbought. So I think that we'll definitely see something soon. It might not be a humongous thing. We might only see the SPY come down to like 415 or something, but hopefully it does end up happening for us.
All right, and then we have Hunter saying, I don't trust the growth stocks right now, though. So I'm with you. It's hard to buy into them or even like trust them, like you said, when they're just exploding every day. That's just not how the market is. And like Carlos said, like you'll see new all time high after new high, and then a couple days or like in like a couple day span, you'll just see a ton of selling pressure, and the momentum can change instantly.
Yeah, I can. And just keep in mind, like with all this inflation news coming up, all these earnings coming out, all that we need is just some like a little bit of like bad earnings or like the Fed to say something weird or something, like or China news. Like there's been a lot of stuff with China lately. So anything can really go on. And specifically with China, like we've seen some big moves in the past out of the SPY, like big, like 15 to 20% pullbacks and stuff on that trade war stuff. And who knows, like anything weird could go on, like a cybersecurity threat or anything.
Awesome. And then we have Corbin saying, I'm looking at OSTK to the downside. Yeah, I don't think it's bad at all. Their next support is like 90 bucks.
Yeah, I see that also. 90 is going to be pretty good. And I like how he's playing that back down. I think that with that big like candle wick up yesterday, I think that shows that there might be some downwards momentum coming up. And I think that we'll eventually break this red trend line to the downside. Like, man, we've been hitting it like 1, 2, like 7 times or something. So I think we'll definitely fall below it soon.
All right. And then we have Click saying, I feel the calm before the storm today. Yeah, I know what you mean for sure. Then we have A saying, hey, Mike and Tom, I'm here. Please cover Tesla. Well, welcome to the stream. If you want to cover, I want us to cover any stocks, let us know. But let's take a look at Tesla, Tom. It looks like it is just consolidating. It bounced off of that 665 support. It's about to retest that 675 resistance. Honestly, I'm just completely neutral on it. It's not bad, but it's not good either. Even with like the indices soaring up to all-time highs, this thing couldn't even break out above 700. It's not tanking. It's not rising. I just don't think it's worth the risk to the upside or the downside. If anything, maybe sell some puts on it or maybe average into shares. But for any short-term plays, like there's just like the momentum's not up or down.
Yeah, it's not. It's just kind of flat. And I would say like on the daily, it looks almost like it might start going down again. So just be really careful. Make it break out above 700, I think, if you want to play something in the short term.
Okay, and then we have Hunter saying AMC fell below 36. Uh-oh, Tom. Now we're getting close to 35.
Man, it's not looking good now today. On the daily, it's just that red candle is just getting larger and larger every time we come back to AMC. Not looking good. Definitely getting down to that 35 support, Mike. Hopefully it bounces for people at that level. But man, I'll be honest, it's just been moving terrible off these technicals, really bad off that 40 support, really bad off these SMAs, and it's just not looking good.
All right, and then Vicky is asking about PayPal, PYPL. It's not doing bad. It's holding up pretty well though. It's still not quite to yesterday's high. Honestly, it is holding its ground, but I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I think the intraday setup's pretty decent. Like we might see like we might come up and retest like 306 or something if we can start to break out above this high around 305. But man, I would definitely be a little careful with it. It's not my favorite setup, but PayPal did have a lot of strength over the past couple of weeks, and they're like almost double topping at that like 310 area. So be really careful.
All right, and then we have Bravo saying, "Am hallucinating or the VIX is going up slightly?" Let's check it out. Let's see. VXX is looks like it's down 2% on the day, but yeah, I mean it had a little bit of a pop like 10 minutes or 20 minutes ago, so that's good to see. Yeah, I mean it's trying. It's like making a very slightly higher low than yesterday.
Yeah, it is. And the SPY is even like catching some green right now. So just keep in mind, like if the SPY comes back up and retests those daily highs or whatever at like 438, obviously the VXX should go down. Sometimes we see them go up together, and generally that's like a bad sign for the market, but it doesn't always happen. And I would not expect that to happen today.
Okay, and then we have Johnny Leverage saying thoughts on APPS and UPST for short-term calls 30 to 40 days out. So APPS, let's take a look. Yeah, it's not bad at all. One thing to keep in mind is that the IV is relatively high, so you might want to use like a call debit spread rather than some naked calls. UPST, I also like the setup.
Yeah, I really like the setup on APPS. I think that one could end up doing pretty well in the longer term. In the short term, I'm not sure about it. It could obviously go either way, but UPST, I think that one will be really good in the long run. But in the short term, I don't know what happened to it the past couple of days. That was just a really bad turnaround off of that like 130, 131 resistance and just came right back down. So hopefully, UPST can hold that like 110 to 112 support.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it was looking so good the other day, and just a ton of sellers came in yesterday.
Yeah, they did, man. That was a really like bad move back down. It was just just not a good thing to see, and it just sucks to see, but sometimes that ends up happening.
You know it. And then let's see. We have Corbin saying, "I want to play Nvidia, but the options pricing is ridiculous. The IV isn't that bad. Is it because the underlying price is high?" Yes, it is definitely a huge impact with it. It's an $800 stock, so that'll definitely impact the options pricing. And you're right. I mean, the IV isn't crazy. It's definitely not low, but it's mainly the underlying stock that's causing that. We have Head saying thoughts on Disney calls for this week with a break even at 185.52. I don't like it. I like Disney for the next couple weeks. I like them for the next couple months, but I do not think it's a smart idea to be playing weekly call options. Literally, in my opinion, Disney's an amazing setup, but I don't. It's just not. I don't. Playing weekly options is almost never a good idea. The theta decay is brutal. A lot of times the delta values suck. Unless you're day trading these options, most of the time you should never be playing weeklies. The theta is brutal, and Disney can rise a lot, and you can still lose money. So I just don't think you should be playing weeklies. I think it's always better to invest that extra capital to get more time so you can get a better quality option. And even if that's not possible for you, there are other ways to get better quality options through the form of call debit spreads and put credit spreads.
Yeah, and all that I would do with those weeklies is just day trade them. That's the only way that I would play those. So I think Mike hit it right on the head there.
Yeah, I mean, weekly screw over so many people. It sucks when you can literally be in a position where you can get the direction completely right and still lose money. Those weeklies just hurt a lot of traders. So I definitely stay away from them. Do you guys expect Big Daddy P to move the market? Of course, he's always moving the market, but it really depends on what he says and in what tone. I saw today that I don't know, he didn't have the best inflation coverage, you can say, but yeah, of course. And then Johnny saying thanks, Mike and Tom. So yeah, I mean, right now it looks like we're having a pretty boring day. The market's not doing too much. We broke all-time highs, which is awesome, but the SPY is struggling a little bit. A huge resistance level right at that all-time high on the SPY at $437.92.
Yeah, and I think Powell might have actually already talked today, which is funny. I'm actually reading something that says that he actually said that the economy's far off from changing their monetary policy and that they're going to keep everything the same right now. I don't know if this was the exact thing that they were talking about, but it says that he came out on Wednesday and definitely said some stuff about the market. So definitely going to be reading into that a little bit more. But he pretty much just said that they're going to be keeping everything with the same type of policy that they've been having.
Yeah, so had he did make a statement today. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't horrible either. The markets clearly didn't see it as like a big scare because they did break all-time highs.
Yeah, for sure, and especially like regarding like which stock, Apple?
Well, just the markets in general, the SPY.
Yeah, that makes sense, and it definitely helps, that he came out with that. I think because it's definitely going to, obviously help that they're continuing to like buy up bonds and obviously just help the market as much as they can. And he even said on inflation, like in his own words, like in a quote, he said that inflation increased notably and will likely remain elevated in the coming months before moderating back down. So whatever, take that however you want, but that definitely shows that they're going to be trying to keep some of these policies the same.
Good stuff. So, Tom, do you have any like last minute stocks or anything you're watching for the rest of the day?
Man, I was really watching AMD. They're getting like right down to these supports right around like $90, $91, I think, or $90.25, I should say. I think it just looks like they've been flat the past few days. And I think that we could see a move back to the upside pretty soon or to the downside, but definitely going to be watching it off of that support level. I think it'll be a good level. I've also had my eyes on GLD the past few days, especially with those inflation numbers getting a little bit worse. And GLD has been going up very slightly. So I'm going to have my eyes on the gold sector, but the gold sector is a pretty hard sector to trade. So it's definitely more of a longer term sector. I would say if you want to trade it, try to swing it for like a few months or something with like some leaps. I think that's the better way to go rather than trying to catch it like for a day trade or something, just because keep in mind, gold moves a lot like whenever the Chinese market opens and stuff. So they have a lot of like overnight influence.
All right, and then we have Bravo saying, "I see economic calendar scheduled at 12 for Powell." I mean, he makes a ton of like statements all the time. I know his main statement, he already had it. So of course he can always have more. He has a lot of things like that throughout the week. We have Trading Desk saying, "Think Apple will close today's gap up." What are you thinking, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that it would eventually, close. I would guess you said Apple, right?
Yeah, close today's gap up.
Uh oh, I see what they're looking at because they're looking on the daily. Yeah, I mean, I would think that it would eventually close. Personally, it looks like it might turn off to the downside. It has a big resistance up there around 149. But I would say it could easily come back down. I'm not sure it'll close the whole gap, but I could see it maybe coming down to like 147, which was around the high of yesterday.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. We had a great time. Unfortunately, the market was pretty boring today. Hopefully, we start to see some action soon. Apple's having a pretty good day. The SPY did break all-time highs, which is always great to see. So, thank you guys so much for joining and have an amazing rest of your day.